into self-isolation. And statistics by Worldometer collated as at 6 p.m. indicates that the world has recorded 8,313,126 confirmed cases of coronavirus, with 447,437 deaths. Of the number, Africa accounts for 263,085 infections. Nigeria now has a total of 17,148 confirmed cases of COVID-19, out of which 5,623 patients have recovered, while 455 deaths have been recorded in the country. And that's it from here. Many thanks for watching. I am Joyce Ometu.
Thanks, Joyce. And still on the global scene, United Kingdom's Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced that the Department for International Development and the Foreign and Commonwealth Office will merge, uniting development and diplomacy in one new department that brings together Britain's international effort. International effort work on the merger will begin immediately with the new department. The Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office to be established in early September and will be led by the Foreign Secretary. The merger is an opportunity for the UK to have even greater impact and influence on the world stage as it recovers from the coronavirus pandemic and prepare to hold the G7 presidency as well as host COP26 next year. The Prime Minister said this is the moment to mobilize every national assets, including aid budget and expertise, to safeguard British interests and values overseas. All right, let's go on a break. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned.
Nigerians, let us take responsibility. Stay healthy, stay safe, and curb the spread of the virus. Take responsibility. The coronavirus spreads from one person to another. Let us avoid crowd gathering of any kind for any reason. Take responsibility. Avoid traveling from one state to another during these lockdown restrictions. Obey all the rules that are put in place. Take responsibility. Stop spreading fake news and unverified reports about the coronavirus. There is no known cure for COVID-19. Take responsibility. Observe all the measures that can help stop the spread of the virus. Together, we can do this, but only if we take responsibility. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
All right, thanks for staying tuned. The National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress has affirmed former Oyo State Governor and Deputy National Chairman of the party, Abiola Ajimobi, as the acting National Chairman of the party. National Vice Chairman South of the party, Herald Etta, addressed the media at the end of a closed-door meeting on behalf of the acting national chairman. He said the National Working Committee has constituted a 7-member electoral panel ahead of the Edo governorship primary, which has Imo State Governor Senator Hope Uzodinma as chairman.
And so, according to the constitution of our party, the NWC reaffirms His Excellency Chief Ajimobi, the Deputy National Chairman South, as the acting National Chairman of the party. We will also make plans in due time to have the congresses of our party from the ward culminating at the state level in Rivers State. The NWC also noted that Chief Victor Giadom had resigned to contest as deputy governor of the party in the last election, and that the party has no recollection that the South-South committee, the South-South zone of the party had represented him.
And still on the political scene, Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, says the 27th of June 2020 deadline for the conduct of party primaries and the 6 p.m. Monday 29th June 2020 deadline for the submission of candidates and their credentials for the Edo governorship election remains sacrosanct and there will be no extension. The INEC chairman, who gave the advice at an interagency consultative meeting on election security this Wednesday, observed that, arising from the experience in managing the nomination of candidates for the last two governorship elections is in Bayelsa and Kogi states, it is important to draw the attention of political parties to the four mandatory requirements for eligibility of candidates for governorship elections. The requirements are: the candidate must be a Nigerian citizen by birth, must have attained the age of 35, must be a member of and sponsored by a political party, and must be educated up to at least school certificate level or its equivalent. Adherence to these clear constitutional provisions is compulsory in order to avoid unnecessary litigations, while calling on security personnel to be proactive during electioneering campaigns. The INEC chairman promised that a draft code of conduct for the security personnel on COVID-19 has been developed and will soon be out. The federal government says the gloomy description of the country's debt profile as painted by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar in his press statement is nothing but a deliberate attempt to spread doom anchored on a false premise. In a statement signed by Segun Adeyemi, Special Assistant to the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, said while the federal government welcomes constructive criticism, such must be anchored on verifiable facts rather than speak from an uninformed position for the fun of it.
Information and Culture Minister noted that there is no doubt that former Vice President Atiku Abubakar loves our country and wishes it well. Otherwise, he would not have sustained his serial quest for the country's highest position. One can only hope that his research to the use of such words as precipice, foreclosure, and economic ruins does not reflect anything but best wishes for the country at this time. Lai Mohammed maintained that the figure of Nigeria's debt-to-revenue ratio of 99% in the first quarter of 2020, quoted by the former vice president, is not in the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper where he claimed he got it from. The statement further queried the source of the first quarter figures of 943.12 billion naira for debt servicing and 950.56 billion for retained revenue, which was also quoted by Atiku Abubakar. The minister said the debt service provisions in the annual budget include principal payments, interest payments, and all other applicable charges, adding, therefore, Atiku's statement that debt services does not equate to debt payment is not only wrong, but ill-informed. On the former vice president's assertion that revenue needs to go up, Lai Mohammed said this administration has introduced several measures to shore up revenues, listing some of the measures as the passage and implementation of the Finance Act 2019, various ongoing reforms in the oil and gas sector, tax administration and collections, as well as the strategic revenue growth initiatives. Furthermore, Lai Mohammed said since Nigeria's debt service is expressly provided in the annual budget and the debt service payments are made as at when due, the issue of creditors foreclosing on Nigeria, as strangely predicted by the former vice president, does not arise. Saying, contrary to the statement credited to Atiku Abubakar, that Nigeria has experienced alarming and unprecedented increase in the ratios of debt to GDP and debt service to revenue, indeed, Nigeria's ratio of debt to GDP is one of the lowest in the world, at 19%, as at December 31st, 2019. One of the reasons why debt services to revenue is high is because revenue generation in Nigeria has been low, with overdependence on the oil sector. This corroborated by the fact that the ratio of Nigeria's tax revenue to GDP is one of the lowest in the world at about 6%, the minister added. Lai Mohammed said, unlike what obtained in the past when the nation borrowed to service the crass indulgence of a few fat cats, the loans being obtained by the current administration are being primarily used to finance infrastructure projects which include roads, rails, bridges and power, and the loans are long-term in nature, which will benefit present and future generations in the face of massive infrastructural decay, as no responsible government will sit by and do nothing. This present administration's borrowing, therefore, is aimed at mostly revamping our infrastructure. The loans for the educational sector will contribute to the development of our human capital, while the loans for the agricultural sector will help the move to diversify the economy. The minister said, despite the negative impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the country's economy, the federal government has continued to take measures to mitigate the effect of the pandemic and assured that the government will always act in the best interest of Nigerians.
Let's talk security. The troops of Operation Lafia Dole and some element of the Civilian Joint Task Force have rescued 32 people, abducted and eliminated 22 Boko Haram members during an ambush and clearance operations. In a statement by Coordinator, Defense Media Operations, Major General John Eneche, says those rescued comprises of 16 women, 16 children and 1 male adult. Major General Eneche notes that the encounter, which spanned through Gwoza, Askira Uba, Bama, Gamboru, Ngala and Ngazai local government area of Borno State, as well as the capture of 1 terrorist, recoveries of several arms in addition to the destruction of camps, while many Boko Haram members escaped with gunshot injuries. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuku Buratai, and the Military High Command commends the armed forces for their patriotism and urged them to sustain the tempo to ensure rapid mopping of the terrorists. Right, we're done with the news. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Ruth Aguela. Bye.
I am Dr. David Ajibade. World Sickle Cell Day is coming up shortly, and I want to say a few things about dehydration. Think about this. Blood needs to flow adequately through the blood vessels, and what